Blog Talk Radio.
Hey everyone, welcome to CE Radio. This is Mark and Nicola with you. Yes, CE Radio, the most inconsistent yet valuable radio station to hit Blog Talk, in our opinion. I mean, every time we do have a show, the show has a lot of success. It goes very well. We just don't do them too often because we're still working on our overall setup for it to make sure that we can do all the things we want to do, have the guests that we want to have on. But we are happy to be here with you tonight. In terms of the CE team, I have another gentleman from here. That's right across from me. He's going to introduce himself right now. Who are you, sir?
Hola. You got Jeff in the house tonight. How's it going, guys?
That's right. We got the Chang. That's what we call him around here. Jefferson Chang. You know, it has nothing to do with his name, but that's just the way we are.
I have no idea where that came from, but I'll go with it.
I'm just making sure on my end that all the audio is working. So sorry, everybody. 1 second. Just make sure what's going on. I ask anybody who's listening that if there are ever any audio problems throughout the show itself, please let us know through the chat, and we will definitely resolve them as quickly as possible. We want to know from you if they are working before and as quickly as possible. So yeah, tonight we do have a special guest. She's someone that's a dear friend to all of us at Collective Evolution.
Thanks, guys. You're a dear friend to me, too.
No, thank you. So, yes, so this is a dear friend of ours. She's been part of the CE team, basically, for quite a while now.
Since its roots.
That's right. She's contributed in many ways as a writer, but now she does quite a bit of work on her own, and that's what we're going to talk a little bit about tonight. We're also going to have a cool conversation about something that we can all relate to. We're going to talk about personal issues. I think everybody listening has some of those going on. We're going to potentially talk about relationships. I think we've all potentially all been in one, or in one right now, or gone through some pretty crazy ones. Yep.
It's happening.
So I think this show is definitely relatable. But without further ado, let's get to this person. This person is Vanessa Petronelli. Vanessa, welcome to CE Radio.
Welcome.
Thank you guys for having me. What an honor to be here. This is exciting. We've been trying to get this particular show going for like last month or so.
It's been a while, yeah. There's been a couple trips, people going their separate ways for a little bit, but now we're back and TO, and we're ready to do this.
And you know what? It's meant to be this evening. So I want to welcome everybody who's tuning in tonight, too. And hopefully I can be of some assistance to all the listeners in some form, in some way. So let's get started. I'm Vanessa Petronelli, and I'm the owner of Open Heart, Open Mind Health and Wellness Services. And I'm based out of Toronto, Canada, but I'm accessible online, so definitely branching out to the world, and that is the next stage of where I'd like to go so I can be a better assistance to more people. And this is one of the first steps to doing that. So
yeah. Getting your voice out there and letting people know. So tell us kind of what you do, like what do you do? Your favorite question. I know we talked about this before. You're like,
I was saying that this is my favorite question. It's, you know, I wish there was like they always say that there's an elevator pitch, like a 20 or 30 second elevator pitch when you have to sell people on what it is that you exactly do. And it's really hard and difficult at times to sort of explain to people in a really simplistic way what I do, because I do a hybrid of things in my services and with people. So I guess the easiest way to explain it, I mean, if people go to my website, my main slogan is connecting you to your essence. And people are like, well, what does it mean to be connected to your essence? And your essence is who you really are. So my interest in working with people is connecting them to who they really are, not who they think they are, not what society has told them they should be, not what their job title is or how much money they make, but who they are in that deep knowing, that deep truth within them. You can call it your higher self, you can call it your spirit, you can call it your soul. You know, there's a myriad of expressions for that, but I help people to really get to know who they are. Now, how do I do that? I use a hybrid of modalities. Yes, I combine coaching, so I do have life coaching, spiritual coaching elements to what it is that I do. I do deprogramming and reprogramming of the subconscious mind so that people are able to understand, you know, the 95% of what's going on within them, their behaviors, their reactions, you know, what they're pulling into their reality has been created from the subconscious mind. I help people to deprogram, reprogram their minds. You know, I do energy work, guided meditation, visualization techniques and sessions. I'm a yoga teacher, and I teach meditation. I facilitate workshops, and I write for you guys, and I'm writing, you know, my own ebook right now, finishing that off, and, you know, holding retreats and discussions with people. So I use a hybrid of modalities, not all at once, of course. That would be a little bit much, doing all that stuff in one session. But I pull in what I need to with every individual client or group that I'm working with to help them to explore and connect to who they really are. And that is really a holistic approach of mind, body, spirit. So many of us are really, we really identify, or we think we know who we are based on what we know mentally. But most of us are operating just out of, our mental hemisphere. But we've forgotten, that there's a body, that there's a physicality that's always communicating to us. And then we never really explore or talk about our soul or, how that is a part of the human experience. So, once that's in alignment, mind, body, soul, then you're really connecting to who you are. And absolutely, at the end of the day, you're going to connect to your purpose and why you're really here.
That's right. Everything falls into place. You got it. And you're flowing with life, and you're experiencing more consistent joy and right. Higher feelings of love and bliss, and you're closer to, I guess what we could say, enlightenment in that regard. It's a really relevant time for that too, because there's a lot of people who are lost, and a lot of people who are disconnected. So they're coming to you, being like, "I need some help. Yeah. I don't know what's going on. Something feels off. I'm unhappy in my career, my relationships. Let's talk." Absolutely. Right. And I've seen the increase. I mean, I've been doing this for 5 years now. And, the first couple of years when I started this business, it was a hard sell. I think it was also a hard sell because I was still trying to really develop my niche and develop my techniques of what I'm going to, use in my session. So it was a learning curve, if you will. But in the third year of business, I started to really see things pick up. And, the closer we've gotten to, 2014 now it's exploding. There's such a demand for this work. And my sort of prediction, if you will, is probably the next 5, 10, 15 years, everyone is going to have somebody who's assisting them on some level, mind, body, spirit. So it's going to be kind of the trend to have a life coach or a therapist or a healer or somebody working with them. Right. It's not going to be so taboo or, we say wooey. It's right. You're up in the sky because you have these, or there must be something wrong with you because you're working with someone. It has nothing to do with that. This work is relevant for everybody. Having that objective voice, you need that sometimes. You get so caught in your own mind, and you need some clarity from an outside perspective. So I can see that. Yeah, and somebody who's non-judgmental, because, every client I work with, and even the students I teach in the studios and in my classes and workshops, I come from a non-judgmental place. I'm coming from an objective place. And the secret to the work that I do is that I am seeing the things that you may be missing. And yes, we all have wonderful, loving, supportive friends and family and partners and people in our lives that are rooting for us and that are, there to be the shoulder to lean on, so to speak. But when people are very emotionally involved and they're, really up close to the situation, we become biased, or they become biased. So my role in my clients' lives and in, the students that I'm teaching is to be that objective, non-judgmental voice and to see those missing spots, or those is the reading in between the lines, so to speak, okay? Right. Of what's really going on. So we can get to the root of why you are experiencing these issues, or why you're feeling disconnected, or why you're not, happy in your life, or, in your purpose. So it's almost like a twist on that conventional role of a therapist, but it's almost like, I don't want to say new age because I hate using that term, but it's a relevant role that I think that a lot of people are turning to find guidance, as opposed to that, older or conventional therapist that's, very science-based and science-trained and has their modalities that are, to the book. And I think a lot of people leave those sessions feeling empty, or they need a lot of those sessions to really get something from it. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm most interested in, and my intention with my clients is, let's move you toward where you want to really be in your life. I'm not interested in sitting and focusing on what's wrong with your life. We can all sit here and talk about what's not working or what we quote unquote believe is wrong. Let's move you toward your fullest capacity. Let's move you into a greater place to love. Let's move you into that container of feeling
joyful and feeling more connected to yourself. And ultimately, when you connect to yourself, you're able to connect to the rest of the world in a very different place. So I'm more interested in, let's get to the root of what's blocking you, what's preventing you from moving toward that and being in your fullest capacity and being in your purpose, rather than sitting and let's talk for weeks and months and years around what's not working, or, you know, what relationships are continually becoming toxic in your life, or why you're miserable in your job. I mean, it can feel very therapeutic when you're in a session, for sure. I know that when I see my coach or when I've gone to my therapist, you know, it is a very therapeutic process. Therapy, yes, it is. You'll feel that therapeutic, you know, that conventional way of therapy where you're talking about that therapeutic feeling. But in coaching, it can feel therapeutic. However, the hybrid of everything that I'm doing is not so much just to soothe you in the session, because a lot of my clients will walk out of their sessions feeling a little rattled, feeling a little discombobulated, I like to say, or confused, because we're really starting to shake up, you know, the sediments within the subconscious mind, within the body, within, you know,
the ones that they've buried.
Yeah, the stuff that's just
for
been
years.
suppressed, and now we're starting to have it, you know, rise to the surface. We say it's like peeling the onion, the layers of the onion back.
That's right.
You know, to get right into that root, to get right to the middle, and that's where the beautiful stuff resides. Once we get there and we clean it up, we purge it out, you know, clear it out, release it, you know, then you are freer. You're more in that unlimited capacity. And that is your essence, guys. The essence of who you are is unlimited. You know, the mind makes you feel that you're limited. So I'm really
reminding your clients of that.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Really, you got it. Absolutely.
So take us on the journey of how you got to this place. Like, what made you want to take on this path and serving people and you know, being a life coach?
Well, how long do we have? I got to give you a very, very condensed version of this. So I knew when I was, you know, a child that I wanted to serve. I almost want to describe it as a feeling of having this microchip built in me at a very young age, that I knew I was here for some sort of purpose, and I knew that I was here in some level. I mean, you know, as a little girl, I'm not going to say, oh yeah, I'm here to serve, I'm here to assist humanity. That's how I describe it now. But when I was a little girl, I knew that I just wanted to help people. And I found myself in the role, you know, in elementary school and growing up as kind of like a little bit of, you know, the person that people would sort of come to or gravitate toward, and they would really open up about their problems.
They told you all their secrets.
Yeah. And sometimes I would be like, why are these people telling me these things? Like, I don't even know how to answer them because I've never been through this. But somehow there was this part within me that, I guess it was coming from such a place of love and a desire to help people and to reach out to them and to connect with them, that I would just somehow give them advice or listen to them, and it would assist them somehow. But I didn't have a keen desire to become a psychotherapist or a therapist when I was, you know, a little girl. In fact, I actually went into a whole other area, which was in the entertainment industry, and I did that for 10 years. And when I was around 14 years old, my whole reason for getting into that industry was because I knew how much our society really put a lot of emphasis and focus on listening to people who are in popular culture. It's like, oh, you know, well, somebody who's famous, like, you know, Madonna or Lady Gaga or, you know, Scarlett Johansson or Angelina Jolie's of the world. I mean, these people are famous. They have
the power of their voice.
Yeah.
So incredible.
Exactly. You know, and I thought, well, if I become like them, because I love singing, I love acting, I love, you know, being involved in the arts and in this industry, then if I make it there, then I'm going to have a voice too, and I can help people, you know, the masses, and I can get involved in projects that are really going to make a difference in the world. But, you know, being involved in that for 10 years professionally, I strayed further and further away from that the more I got involved in it. You know, it was the perfect experience. I learned a great deal about myself. And while I was in that industry, I really ventured in my teens. I was always questioning things. So even though I was in this industry and I was kind of a part of that whole materialistic, almost superficial show that it was, you know, was going on, and I enjoyed it. I really did play full out in that experience.
Right.
in the background, what was happening was, I was always questioning things. And the reason why I actually really went into that industry too and became an entrepreneur from a young age is because I never wanted to follow everyone else. I always had this keen passion and ambition to follow my heart. Mm-hmm. And that's what I said to my family growing up all the time. I'm not going to do what everybody else is doing. I'm going to do what feels right for me. Mm-hmm. And it was always out of the box. It was never, going with the crowd, so to speak. But I was okay with that. And it was hard. I mean, please don't get me wrong. It was a very challenging choice that I made. But I was always my own person in that regard. And while I was, discovering and playing out in this industry, I was always questioning what was going on in society. I never understood, why do people go to work 5 days a week and have 2 days off on the weekends? I don't understand how anybody would agree with that. This is mad. And, I remember my mom saying to me, because that's just the way life is, Vanessa. And I said, but why though? I mean, it says who? Because it's just the way it is. You don't question it. But I am questioning it because I don't get it. Why don't we work, 3.5 days a week and another 3.5 days a week, or have 3.5 days off, and why do people only get 2 weeks of vacation a year? And why are we a slave to this paper bill? And, why do people walk around looking miserable all the time and they come home and they just want to put their feet up and they're exhausted? Like, why isn't anybody really enjoying their life and following their dreams, following their passions? Mm-hmm. So that was going on in the background, and then I fell into the conspiracy theory world.
As we all do.
Yes. Apparently. And that was a very interesting time for me because that actually spawned a lot of the inner work that I started to do. So, when I was in that industry, I ended up working in event marketing and did some promotional work and all that, and ended up opening another company of my own at that time. And it was during those years while I was in the entertainment industry. I had gone to university, did my post-secondary education, and opened this other business that I started to fall into, working on myself, so to speak, doing more inner work. So the conspiracy theories, how that kind of, I guess, was the segue into doing my inner work. I was depressed after I read some work around conspiracy theories for about 6 or 7 months. I really fell into a deep and dark place because it was like all of a sudden all of these things that I had been questioning, somebody had come along and answered them for me, and I didn't really like what I found out. Mm. And I felt hopeless, and I felt powerless, and I felt really helpless, and I was thinking to myself, what is the point in this existence if this is the way the world is being run? And it kind of feels like it resonates with me on some level or many levels. What is my role then? Here I am coming into this industry to make a difference, but it's not going to really matter at the end of the day anyways because they're calling
the shots, and it's all controlled anyways. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And what I kind of got from that, and it became one of my mottos that I lived by, was I can't control what's happening outside of me. I can't control what's happening in the world, but I can certainly control what's going on within me. And I can't change what's going on around me. I can't change other people. I can't change the government. I can't change the way the media is. I can't change people's minds. But I can change myself. And Gandhi's quote, be the change you wish to see in the world, really stood out to me. And still to this day, I mean, I'm talking like 10 years later, that is something I live by. And that is what I tell my clients. You can't change your partner. You can't change, the people at your work. You can't change your boss. You can't change a lot of those things outside of you right now. You're not in control of all those things. But what we can certainly do is change what's not working or what's working against you within you.
Yes.
You can change you.
I was just saying that to my partner today. It's all those cliche sayings. They're all so true.
Yeah.
They're simple, cliche, but they're all so true.
And they stick with you. And it's really helped me. So it was from there that I kind of woke up, and I guess my awakening, if you want to call it that, started to really begin. And I got into the Landmark education and did the Landmark Forum. And then I, got into Louise Hay, and The Secret was introduced, by Rhonda Byrne into my life, Norman Vincent Peale, and then it just started to spiral from there. And, after 10 years of being in the entertainment industry, and being in event marketing, I really had a full-on awakening. I had a life coach at the time, too, because I was doing some work as a solo artist, as a singer. And I was all set to go to L.A. to meet with agents that were there, because that was my dream, to go to LA. And by this point I was already feeling like things weren't moving. My career was stagnant. Nothing really seemed to be panning out how I had kind of expected it to go, the way my ego really wanted it to go.
Yes.
And I was, pushing products that weren't necessarily bettering the world. A lot of propaganda involved in that. It just wasn't in alignment with me, ethically, morally. Just didn't feel right. And I was set to go to LA to give my full shot at, acting and modeling in California. And I ended up getting veered off course with a really bad virus. And it was all over my face. I had cold sores, and I know it doesn't sound really nice probably to the poor listeners, but it was a pretty bad experience. And let's just say if it didn't manifest on my face, or if I didn't create it on my face, if it was a stomach bug or something, I would have still gone.
Pushed past it, yeah.
Yeah, but it was like
no, it's here, it's happening.
Yes. It was like divine inspiration, or intervention. Inspiration. I don't know about that. And it intervened on the course, and it was from that point on that I was like, I quit the industry cold turkey. I quit doing the event marketing and went on a year of really, quote-unquote, finding myself. And then I discovered my postgraduate program, went into that for the year, and absolutely fell in love with being back in school, and met, the director of my program is my life coach today, and she was a big door opener. That's actually how I met Collective Evolution, and Franco Di Nicola and Antonia Higgins from Masterpiece Life, a lot of my main teachers and main inspirations in my life and on my journey. And and then I opened my business while I was in school, and here we are 5 years later. So I know that was quite a bit of a lengthy story. I hope I didn't put anyone to sleep. But you asked for it, so I gave you how I got here.
I don't think you put anyone to sleep. I think you got somebody interested. Looks like we do actually have a caller.
Cool.
Before I take that, I'm just going to quickly mention that anybody else that is listening, we are accepting questions either through a call like this person, area code 229. That's what I'm going to be bringing on in a couple of seconds. We're also taking it through the chat or through any of our major social media stuff. So any questions you may have for Vanessa, or you just want to bring up as a discussion topic for us all to talk about, we're open to it. So I'm going to bring on this caller now. We don't have the best audio set up for that, so I will be repeating the question just in case any of you guys have a difficult time hearing it, or if either Jeff or Vanessa have a difficult time hearing it. So I'm going to bring the caller on within a matter of seconds. That's area code 229. Hi, you're on. Can you hear us?
Yes, sir. I can hear you all. Thank you for taking my call.
Yeah.
Of course.
Hello.
Hi. Yes. My name is Melvin. I'm calling from Georgia. And I just wanted to know, we are doing general readings tonight.
Pardon me? Can you repeat that again?
I just want to know, we are doing readings tonight.
If we're doing readings?
Yes.
What kind of readings are you talking about?
I guess psychic readings. Clairvoyant.
That's not really something that we were focusing on tonight.
I wish I could give you a clairvoyant reading right now.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
That's okay.
I do apologize for that.
No, that's okay. If you have any other specific question or topic you want to talk about, we're open to talking. Just we don't want to tout ourselves as clairvoyants when we're not, so that's all.
Yeah. But no, that'll be okay. But I thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, take care, man.
All right. You have a blessed night.
Yeah.
We gotta get Teresa Caputo in here.
I know.
Just disconnecting from the call. Give us 1 second. Okay, cool. So let me just make sure we're still working. Yeah, so that was an interesting call. You don't expect that every day.
No.
You don't have any clairvoyance in you there?
Well, I actually did do readings very early on in my work, and that's actually interesting. He called for that. And Melvin, I don't want you to think that I didn't want to do a reading for you, but that's not my focus anymore. And I'll tell you why. Actually, this is kind of an interesting topic. Some of my intuitive abilities really came back when I started to get into yoga and meditation when I was around 24. So I'm going to be 31 in August, just so you guys have an understanding of the timeline. And I was intuitive growing up as a child and kind of suppressed a lot of those gifts. And then when I started to go through a lot of my, spiritual awakening, if you want to call it that or label it that, a lot of my intuitive gifts started to come back. And I didn't quite understand what was happening to me, but I started to work with them. And I do use my intuitive gifts in the work that I do, but it's not for the context of doing readings. So I started to do a little bit of readings at the beginning of my career, but I started to move away from it because I was really feeling like readings to me are very much based on outcome and me telling you or the client how your life is going to be. And that is very much based on ego. And I feel like that's very disempowering for people, because for me to tell you what I see as a possibility in your life, really takes you out of the equation of being a co-creator or a powerful creator of your own journey and your own life itself.
Yes, for sure.
And I'm not interested in that anymore. I'm interested in having people really design what feels right within them, their truth. Because what psychics, and we can be very accurate and we can very much see timelines, and it can very much unfold exactly, with what you're feeling or what you're sensing or seeing in that moment. But it may or may not come true. And for somebody to attach themselves to that outcome, I feel like I'm doing a disservice to somebody, because
you're limiting them.
Exactly. And I'm not interested in limiting people. The shift that's happening on this planet right now, and people awakening and wanting to connect to who they are, is not about some person sitting at the top saying this is how it's going to be and this is how it's going to unfold. And that's how I kind of look at the role of me saying that I'm going to do a reading for you. It's saying this is the only options or opportunities or experiences that you're going to have. And if you don't follow that, well then, sorry. Mm-hmm. So for me, I'm not trying to put down any psychics or clairvoyants or intuitives. I did that, and I fully believe and know how powerful it is. I use my intuitive abilities to assist people and to laser through some of the, blockages and the issues that they're going through. So we're not sitting on it for, several sessions. But it's not about saying, in 2 months you're going to meet somebody. Things are shifting very quickly, and people all have the ability to connect to their intuitive abilities, to be able to connect to, their soul, their spirit, their mission, their purpose. And they get to design how that experience unfolds. And things are changing so quickly, as I said, that, you may come in for a reading today, but already you walked out, you've learned something, and you've shifted on another timeline. Because we have several different timelines and possibilities that can unfold in our reality during the course of our lifetime. And I may only be having access to one or two of those possibilities, which is very limiting.
Exactly.
So that's just my take on that. I respect Teresa Caputo, and she's amazing, and she's more of a medium.
Yeah, she's a medium.
There is a difference, in some of these gifts. But, sorry, Melvin, that I couldn't help you out with that. But if, people do have any specific or questions or issues that they're going through that, we don't really need to use intuitive guidance as so much as just being able to relate and connect with each other. I'm happy to hear them out and to help them.
Let's talk about your, what kind of issues, challenges people are coming to you with. Like, what are you seeing more so in the past couple of years with your work that, is a commonality that people are coming to you with?
I would probably say one of the most common, I really don't like the word issues, but for lack of a better word, I guess common themes or topics, situations, experiences. A lot of people are really looking to be in some form of a calling, or they want to know their purpose. That's a big one. I would say
fulfillment.
It's people are waking up one morning or over a period of several months, and they're saying, the job that I thought that I would really find fulfillment and satisfaction isn't really feeling right anymore. Or, the routine that I'm in is just not fitting. I feel like I'm here to do more. I feel like I'm here to offer more for myself and to the planet, and I'm not sure what that is. Other issues that people seem to have are definitely around relationships is one hot topic and button. And particularly, what I really like to focus and specialize in is relationship with self.
Right.
I really like helping and assisting people on how to develop a deeper relationship with themselves, and to also understand the purpose and the power that relationships have in their life, because we have a very backward way of thinking about what relationships are really supposed to be about. A lot of people's relationships are based on expectations of what society has told them they should be, or what, you know, their families have told them they should be, or what the movies have told them they should be.
Religion.
Yeah, you know, every paradigm and structure in place is basically set up how relationships should be. And I would say a lot of them are big illusions.
Well, yeah, you look at the divorce rate. I mean, that's a prime example of we're doing something wrong.
Absolutely. And, you know, that's fundamentally one of the most important areas that we focus on. And, you know, people come in around money, of course, and money is another big topic, and just really loving themselves. And then I also have a whole niche of clients that come to me, you know, who are looking to start up their own small businesses, because I have done this, you know, since I was 15. So for 15 years, you know, close to 16 years, I've been an entrepreneur and a small business owner twice now, and I'm in my second small business. And I love helping people to, you know, create something that they're passionate about and help them to organically build from a place of love. Because they're here to revolutionize the planet through love, through what it is that they're passionate and they're, you know, they enjoy doing. So at the end of the day, I have to say, no matter what people come in for, we do discuss really the same thing. It's about connecting mind, body, soul. And then, you know, you do have other people who come in around their spiritual awakenings. But at the end of the process, or the sessions or the work that we're really doing together, everyone is kind of having an awakening. It doesn't matter where it's showing up in their life or what the catalyst is. There's an awakening happening on some level for them. And we're going to work mind, body, spirit, with every client that I work with, or with every client I see. We're going to get to that.
They're going to leave with a new level of clarity that they haven't had before.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah. I would say you're going to completely transform, and you're going to have breakthroughs in this if you're dedicated, if you're committed, if you're responsible, and you show up fully. Money back guaranteed.
I like that because a lot of the time we come to these kind of, you know, therapeutic sessions and we expect something from it without having to actually put the personal work in. And with almost everything in life, it's about the work you put in. Yeah. Right?
You hit it bang on, because, you know, people, I think, because we're so used to things being convenient and we want quick fixes. I mean, when we have a headache, I often use the example, you know, we don't tune into the body. You know, maybe the body is dehydrated, or it's hungry, or we need rest. No, we go to the medicine cabinet. Not all of us, but many people will go to the medicine cabinet and reach for, you know, Advil or a Tylenol, you know, just to get rid of that headache. It's a quick fix. And, you know, sometimes I will have clients that will come in who are expecting me to do the work for them, or expecting this to be a very easy, smooth ride where...
Here's all the answers. Here's the silver platter.
Yes. And, you know, they have a bit of a wake-up call in the process that this takes work. You're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to, you know, learn to navigate through that feeling of discomfort with ease. You're going to learn how to really engage in this full human experience that you're meant to be having, and you're going to do the work around it. But when you're doing the work and when you see the transformation, the breakthroughs, it's that much more rewarding because you're doing it. It's not that some outside influence, such as myself or some family member or money or something, is doing the work for you. You're doing it, and you're committed, and that is so empowering. And that's why I don't really believe in doing those readings, because it's so much more empowering for you to have those breakthroughs, for you to have those realizations about your life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, in the end, it's like we all have the tools within us to overcome anything. And it's kind of like with your services, you're reminding people to look within rather than to look without or to look outside of yourself. I mean, so many of these other people that will be looking into issues that people have, they'll make you feel like they're doing something because they're going to point the finger with you. They'll be like, oh, it's because of that guy you dated back then, or it's because of your father who did this to you as a child, or whatever the case may be. And you can pinpoint that, and you'll be like, yeah, that's right, it's because of that. And then you'll get caught in this whole blame game that's going to give you temporary peace, but not lasting peace. The lasting peace comes from the enabling within yourself, seeing that, you know what, that's what that was, but I'm the only one who can get myself out of it. Yeah. I'm the only one that can break the cycle, that can step out of this whole thing, no matter how traumatic, no matter how experientially rich whatever it was may be. This moment's brand new. This moment I am fully capable, and your services assist people in giving them whatever they are. And that's why you said you come across so many different platforms, because it's kind of assessing what each person calls upon. Since, this person needs A, C, and E, another person needs B and D, to just kind of bring that within themselves. Because in the end, they do have to find themselves. There's only so much that anyone can do. That even through us at Collective Evolution, we write articles on these subjects, some that you've written, some that Jeff has written, or myself has written, or anybody else, that we tell people some of the tools. Some of it will be based on our own experience. But in the end, they need to find it within themselves. They need to kind of go through the process, trust the process, no matter how intense it may be, and know that they're the only thing that's going to get themselves out of that process and to experience life differently, right? It's just, so that's what I think is really refreshing about the work that you do. And I think that it's something that a lot of people can gain a lot from, because it's something that's going to enable them to do this and to live it, rather than just feel temporarily good. Like you mentioned, it's not about the quick fix. It's not about popping the medication to get beyond stuff, right?
Yeah.
Anyone can do that. And what happens? You need to keep taking the medication every single day. Versus when you actually look within, it might be tricky at first. The mind might try and trick you every once in a while and get you to go back down the rabbit hole, or whatever the case may be. But eventually it gets to a point where it can't go there anymore, because you've put it within yourself and you've kind of empowered yourself inside. So it's giving you the opportunity to make a lasting change.
Yeah. And so well said, and it's precisely it. And it's understanding that all of the things that are unfolding in your experiences outside of you are actually there to assist you. And all those things that you feel are happening to you, I know, are really there to benefit you, and there's a gift. And I know that it's really hard sometimes for us to wrap our minds around that, because
especially the tough ones. It's like, why do I deserve to have someone pass away in my life, or why do I deserve to have this abusive relationship, or why does she deserve to be, poverty stricken and have cancer? And it's those tough ones that are really hard to grasp, that we actually, they're here to serve us in their own way.
You got it, and
right.
I know it is a challenge to push through, those difficulties, especially those heavy topics and experiences that a lot of people in the world are facing. But it's there for a reason, and it's understanding that everything that's coming into your life is there to serve you somehow. And the work that we're doing together, I'm doing with you, is helping you to recognize that, and I'm facilitating you through the process of understanding that it's not there to punish you. It's not there to continuously make you suffer. It's there to help you to grow and evolve and to become the person you're really meant to become. This work is permanent. And, the reason why I'm so passionate about it, and I'm sure you can feel that when I'm talking to you guys, I'm like leaning in here to the mic, getting like all enthralled and engaged in this, is because I know it works. I have gone through it myself. When I started to really do this deep inner work, when I went through this awakening, several years ago, I'm talking probably about 6 years ago, I would say 5 years ago is when I really started to get into the heavy duty stuff. Before that, I was getting into the work, but I was really touching. I was scratching the surface. It was like the introductory, sort of work that I was doing. But when I really got into the heavy duty stuff, and I really committed, to showing up and understanding who I am and getting through the blocks, and when I saw what was unfolding after going through my clearing, after going through, the purging and the releasing and loving myself, and understanding why the relationships and the situations are showing up into my reality through coaching. I mean, I have a coach. I go to therapy. I go to healers. I have my people that I work with.
Yes.
I feel it is vital and so important for anybody who is in the role of assisting in this sort of way, that they have their people that they see. Because we need to be coached. We need to be going through our work in order to facilitate people on a deeper level. We can't teach what we haven't already learned.
And you're real, and
and you're human, and you have your issues.
And we have these false ideas of these gurus that have all the answers, and we're all human.
Right. So I'm passionate because I know, and I've seen such a difference in myself. I feel different in myself. I know how this work benefits people. And because it's helped me so greatly in my life, I want to share that with the world. This is accessible for everyone. And like I said earlier, you don't have to have issues to come to do this work, whether it would be with me or with anybody else who's in a similar line of work. Everybody could use that assistance, that non-judgmental, objective voice, support, cheerleader in their life. everybody is here to grow and to reach their capacity and to be in purpose.
Absolutely.
And not everybody's really in it. So it's about taking life from like status quo or mediocre. And I'm not saying that with judgment, because if that really fulfills people, if they're living a simple life, that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about that. But if you're feeling like that is, you have more to give, more to offer from, your heart, from your soul, you got to step it up a notch, and you got to stop playing small and start playing big and showing up in your life. And this work helps you to do that, and it's permanent. Yeah. And that's what's so cool about it.
Totally.
We actually had a question come in through the chat. It's a question that I've seen be asked many times before. We'll see if we want to get into it. I'll have something to say no matter what. But the question came in from a user called Snazy. This is for anyone who just can't see the chat right now. The question is, I've been interested in learning more about my own past lives. Do you have any suggestions on how to explore myself in order to tap into some of them?
That's a really interesting question. I am not a past life regression therapist. I don't specialize in that, so I don't really want to speak too much to that. What I can share is, in my experiences in doing my own inner work and in working with several clients, past lives have come up. I absolutely believe in reincarnation. I believe that, we are souls that are boundless, that are infinite, that are not just having one lifetime. I believe that we do reincarnate, and in every lifetime we're here with, if you want to call it an agenda or intentions or lessons to learn, that we're incarnating into certain physicalities to have those experiences so that we can, learn and experience and play and grow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do your past lives affect where you are at currently in your lifetime? Absolutely. Because if you have not finished working through some lessons from, let's say, 5 lifetimes ago, and let's say the limiting belief is around I'm not good enough, which seems to be prevalent for everybody, okay? So you've been working through learning that you are good enough, but you didn't quite complete that 5 lifetimes ago. It's going to show up in this lifetime. It's still going to be running in the background.
Yeah, the energetic imprint carries over from life to life.
Exactly.
And yeah, I've done a lot of reading with past life regression therapists, and it's really interesting what they do. I know that it can be really beneficial for people. Mm-hmm. They go into these really deep hypnotic trances, and they travel back, in this super conscious state to this past life where they deal with these issues, like, this pain of maybe killing somebody or losing somebody that you've held on to, and you release that. And these clients come out of these sessions after waking up and they feel like they've lost 100 pounds, So I know that there can be a lot of benefits to it for sure. And there are specific techniques that are used by different therapists. But for that question, I would say just look up local past life regression therapists. They're all around you, and you can find their credentials and find some reviews, and I think that you can find some benefits from that for sure.
Absolutely, and it's cool to be open to it, because in sessions sometimes when I'm doing the deprogramming, because people are put into a bit of like a light trance and meditation type state when they're doing that work with me, sometimes they will venture back into past lives and it will come up. That's not always the goal or the intention. Again, the subconscious mind will connect with the higher self or the soul to take you where you need to go, if that's beneficial. But that's not my specialty. That's not really my one of the modalities that I would say I don't like the word expert, but I specialize in. Let's just keep it at that. But there are a lot of great authors and definitely a lot of great past life regression therapists, and I do feel that it's handy. It's not always essential, but it's definitely handy, and I feel that if that resonates for you, and particularly for the individual who wrote in with that question, that's obviously coming up for you, and it's worth exploring, and that's what I would suggest. Whoever's going to come into your reality is going to be the one to help you with that, but it's definitely worth exploring on your own.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree completely. That it's definitely something that's worth exploring. And just the one thing, like I've also experienced it in numerous cases, and most of the time it came up when I wasn't even anticipating it. You'd be going through an issue and ended up being rooted in something that happened in a past life, and it came up that way. The one thing we just want to be careful of is the potential trap, because it sounds like a really cool thing, and it is in a lot of ways. So, man, what was I in the past? You can get really caught up in that. And you just want to make sure that when you're looking into these things, and if you go to a regressional therapist, whatever the name for them is, that you just go in there without any expectation and without any attachment to whatever could or could not come up. you don't want to get into a situation where you're too either overwhelmed by what your past life was, if suddenly you find out, I mean, this is a long shot, but you're Cleopatra or something, you're not going to start identifying with that again and suddenly make yourself
Jesus reincarnated.
Yeah. So you don't want to fall into that trap. And then also on the other side, if you go and you found out that you were some, I don't know, beggar in some place that has nothing that would ever fulfill any part of your ego, that you don't start to feel underwhelmed and disappointed, or that you're more deserving of something in this life because of that. Because all those modalities could be dissident trappings. Just to go to things like this with an open mind, without any expectations, have fun with it, and to realize that it'll come up if it needs to, and even the most non-exciting past life, if it needs to come up, will be just as serving to come up as a really flashy one.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like you said, it's really interesting to learn about your past lives, but ultimately you're here now.
Exactly.
In this form, you're doing this, so you should be focusing on this for sure. But it's interesting nonetheless, and there are benefits to gain from it. Absolutely,
but it is all about being in the present, and this is the lifetime that you're having. So I feel sometimes that when we are so wrapped up in all that, whether we're going to the psychic for the future, it's interesting how we've had two questions that are like totally contrasting there. One person's about having readings, for future, and the other person's saying, I want to know about the past. But really, guys, it's about being here. This is the life that you are living right now. Yeah. So are you creating the life that you really, want to live? Are you really expanding and being in your fullest? That's something you got to ask yourself.
For sure.
I think something that'd be fun, because I know a lot of the social media side of it, when I went to go check it on the other computers, they're really zeroed in because of how relatable it is to like the relationship side of things. I think let's just go down that road for a second.
All right.
Okay. I think a fun way to do it would be to kind of like, and tell me if you don't want to go down this way. This is kind of what's coming to me right now. We go through two potential scenarios. Scenarios that I can say I've been in some of them. Maybe you guys have as well. I'm sure a lot of the listeners have. And kind of let's kind of break it down in the sense of, perhaps, Vanessa, what would you tell someone who came to you with potentially this type of situation? Or what would you tell yourself if you were in this situation? Whatever the case may be. Jeff, what are your thoughts on that? So like scenario one, and then scenario two will be on the opposite side of the spectrum. Scenario one would be for someone who, let's say, has been single for an incredibly long period of time, is getting to a point where they're looking for a relationship rather desperately. They're really longing for that experience in their life. A lot of things are coming up towards that. If someone's coming with you with this perpetual longing for a relationship, how would you kind of handle or assess that type of situation for someone?
Do you want me to go first?
Yeah.
Okay,
sure. Your thing.
This is actually a pretty common scenario, I would say. Absolutely. I have been in it myself, where I've really longed for a partnership and a connection, and, just keep hitting the wall, either with dating people who are not a good fit for me, or just not meeting anybody at all that I, felt was really worth spending, time and energy with. The most important thing I would say is, and I don't want to always go back to that cliche, you need to love yourself first fully and then you'll meet someone, because every relationship that comes into our life, whether, we have that intention to create it and to have that partnership, like somebody who's been single and really wants that partnership, or somebody who's, alone and is just content in being alone, every relationship that comes into our reality is helping us to love ourselves more deeply. It's teaching us to love, on a more unconditional type level. So when somebody is really desperate or looking to meet someone, I often like to get a feel for the type of relationship they have with themselves first. And I always like to ask clients, let's make sure that you have your basic needs met within your own relationship with yourself. Are you fulfilling those basic needs and practicing them daily? Or are you looking outside of yourself to, a potential partner to fulfill those needs? It's like somebody saying, well, I really need to have a relationship with someone because I want to feel love, because I want to, feel that I'm able to experience more compassion and joy in my life. And, I'm going to have somebody that I can do things with and, go to experience activities in life with. So there's a difference between saying I need and I want. You want a relationship where you can experience those things, but do you need it? Not necessarily. Let's look at the relationship you're establishing with yourself first. If you're feeling fulfilled, and you're emotionally, if you're feeling like, I feel good about my life, I feel good about what I'm experiencing, I feel good about what I'm creating, I do like the relationship I've built with myself. I always like to ask people, are you being your own best friend?
Mm-hmm.
Are you being your own best friend
first?
One. You know, it's so simple because everyone's like, I can be a best friend to everyone else, but when it comes to me, I'm giving myself like the worst advice. I've got so much negative self-talk and I'm putting myself down. Well, it's like if you're in that zone of not being your own best friend, chances are you're not having your basic needs met. And basic needs, I like to look at them as like my non-negotiables. You know, there are things that you can't negotiate on. So people get a little bit misconstrued where they're thinking, oh, you know, I need that relationship for all of that. They may very well get those partnerships coming in, but they're probably not going to be getting all those things that they're really trying to hook onto or expect from the partnership because they're not giving it to themselves first, or at least trying to practice that first or set the intention of that first. So I would basically say to somebody who's single and wants to connect with someone, first ask yourself, are you being your own best friend? Period. You'll get a really clear answer. You cannot lie to yourself, and be honest with yourself. And then be honest with yourself as well. Like, what is my intention in wanting to create and have a partnership with someone? You know, let me be really clear and objective about this. Is it because I'm looking for that person to fulfill something that I have not already fulfilled within myself? Mm-hmm. Or is it because I simply want to be in service with someone? Or I want to share my life and share my love with someone? Because, yeah, when you get into a romantic relationship and when there's two people who fundamentally are their own best friends and they really do like themselves and, you know, dare I say it, love themselves, mm-hmm. that love just ripples out. I mean, the energy that comes from, a dynamic partnership like that is so, so powerful in every single way.
So much more harmonious than someone getting together to, have sex or to get self-worth and from somebody else.
Yes, absolutely. So, get clear on why you want that partnership. And then one thing that I noticed is that people who've been single for a long period of time are afraid to put themselves out there. So, you cannot hide behind a screen. I know that internet dating is really, popular, and I've done it many times myself. However, that's not the only means to meet people. Get out and get involved, connect with people, smile at people,
face to face.
Yeah, I always tell people you want to start to connect with people and meet people. Wherever you go, look someone in the eyes. You don't have to have a staring contest and freak people out. Stare into their eyes just for a second, greet them. Like, allow yourself to be seen and see them, and start to connect. And then you're going to see that you're going to, start to meet more individuals. Join a community like on Meetup.com, where you're meeting, like-minded individuals who share the same interests as you. And, don't go out like, a lot of people when they're single always want to go out like they're on a hunt, I'm like, I'm hunting for my man tonight.
Let's get drunk!
And they have this like, aggressive, abrasive sort of agenda that they're going to meet someone in that state. And it's like, well, just be open to meeting and connecting with different people. Because you may connect with somebody of the same sex or somebody of the opposite sex who may be married or partnered or may become a friend, but maybe they have a network or plethora of people around them that are single that they can introduce you to.
Right.
Just don't shut down your ability to connect. Don't shut down or close any doors in that regard. But get to know yourself first. You can be single for a long period of time and have no idea who you are. Yeah. Have no idea, what you're sort of looking for, would like to create in partnership, and no idea what kind of relationship you have with yourself, and you kind of just, you're navigating through the world and the dating scene a little bit lost and confused, and then you end up meeting and making choices and people that, are not maybe the best fit, but then again, at the end of the day, we're all getting the experiences that we need, and we need to have. So even if it's not the person that you're looking for, or it's not a comfortable dating experience, it's shown up in your reality for a reason, and you got to work with it, right?
Absolutely.
Learn from it. So I hope that answers, some of the listeners' questions and makes sense. Yeah. But that's what I would do, and that's what I've had to do. I've had to do a lot of inner exploration to get into and be in the partnership that I'm in now, and which is really rewarding and fulfilling, and healthy.
I really liked how you started that off with the very simple question of being your own best friend. I think that's pivotal to everything, even whether or not it enables a grander relationship down the road, it's just still important to love yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, it's at the core of everything you do, not only in relationships, but in the work world and the way you just present yourself or you carry yourself around anything and everybody. So I think that's a really cool way to do it, a really cool way to start the approach.
Totally.
Oh, for sure.
It reverberates. And just to kind of finish off what we're talking about, and you guys kind of touched upon it too, is really creating that self-worth and getting that self-worth from yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, nothing material, nothing external, no one else, because that's a recipe for disaster. And I think that's what we go into relationships trying to find, is that attention or that self-worth from someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of just a shark pit.
Absolutely. It's it's that quick fix, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And it ends up bruised egos, and, you know, 'cause you don't have control of your own ego, and you know, that's where relationships get crazy and people get hurt and lost.
Yes.
So let's stand from the other side of that. Scenario 2 now.
Uh-oh.
Someone's coming to you kind of in a different spot. They're coming into you, let's say they've either been married for decades or they've just even been in a relationship with the same person for 3-4 years. It's someone that they still feel they want to keep in their life, someone that they're close to. There's no pull to separate at this point, but things are just stale. I mean, it's easy to feel good when things are in that honeymoon stage off the top. You're like, oh, yeah, you know, there's nothing about this that I don't love. But now it's just gotten to the point where it's either repetitive or it's stale, but it's someone they still want to keep in their life in that capacity. How would you go ahead approaching that type of person?
This is quite common. I have a lot of clients who will come to me who've been in relationships, and, you know, they're wanting to grow and they're wanting to discover and explore themselves, and they're really eager, like they feel like they're sponges for self-growth and self-development, spirituality, and they'll have a partner who they've been married to or they've been in a relationship with for, you know, a long time that, you know, is stuck, stagnant. You know, they're very content or satisfied in just remaining where they've always been. And what often happens is that the person who, you know, is growing and is evolving, you start to have a disconnect, and there's not so much of a resonance energetically between both people. So I always say to my clients, you know, they'll come in, they'll be like, they're wanting the approval or, you know, for me to say, yeah, you know, go for it. Leave the relationship, not the right person for you. I never, ever say that. First of all, I don't want to tell people what to do. Mm-hmm. I'll make suggestions, and every now and then I will be off the record, and I'll say, okay, you know, this is kind of my advice or how I would look at the situation. But often I say to people who are experiencing that is to do the work on themselves first. You know, we don't know what's going to happen to that other individual. They might all of a sudden, you know, be inspired by their partner's growth and the transformation and say, hey, I want a piece of whatever it is that you're doing. I want to know, what are you doing that is making you glow? And you're all of a sudden you're so happy and joyful. Like, I want to be on board with that. Mm-hmm. You know, I like to tell my clients, you know, don't tell your partners to really get on board with this personal self-developmental work, because first of all, it's got to come internally. It's got to come from a natural and organic place for people. You know, so if your partner is stagnant or you're in a stagnant or stuck relationship, it's to focus on you. Again, you can't change your partner. You can't change that. You're only responsible for you. So do the best you can. Do everything you can on your end to work on yourself, and then absolutely work on the relationship. And what it looks like to work on the relationship is going to be different for everyone, but it may mean doing, you know, certain communication building exercises. I do a lot of that. I do work with couples, by the way, and I will work with couples individually at first, and then I will call them in together,
right,
in sessions. And I also work with families as well. So, you know, mother-daughter relationships or mother-son relationships, they'll come in together, and really the intimacy and connecting exercises, communication exercises we'll do are all virtually the same. It doesn't matter what the dynamic is. Because I think at the end of the day, what becomes stagnant for people is that they've lost that connection. They're not expressing. They're afraid to talk about...
Communicate, yeah.
Yeah, like what's really going on. You know, the elephant in the room is there that, hey, we're not connecting, we're not seeing eye to eye, we're not being seen, we're not really accepting each other. Get real with each other. Like, we are so afraid of conflict.
Yes.
We avoid it, but we are willing to betray ourselves and our partners and any of our relationships out of fear of, stepping on someone's toes. It's like, guys, you need to move past that, move beyond that.
Yeah, let's talk.
Yeah, talk. And you know what? Sometimes it's good to have a little bit of that conflict in relationship because it fires things up. It gets people moving. It gets you out of that stagnant, state. When people say, I'm not sure what I should do, or I'm not sure what decision I should make, and this is in regards to a relationship or any experience you're having, I always say that when you're sitting on the fence and you're not making a decision, that is a decision. And a lot of people remain that way. Oh, I don't want to rock the boat with my partner, or I don't want to make any changes, or I don't want to talk to my partner about how I'm really feeling. Well, you've just made that decision. You're saying you don't know what to do? No, you've made the decision. You know what you're doing. You're not doing anything. So you have to make a decision.
That's right. I got actually some really good advice from a friend once, and this kind of stuck with me. And it's like, I was dealing with a relationship decision, a choice, to go one way or another, and I was really torn up about it. And I told her, and she told me back, or she said back to me, you know what, Jeff? There's no right or wrong decision. There's just a decision you make, and you deal with the consequences. And I love that. I feel like you can apply that to everything in life, and it's so true. Like, we're so worried about making the right decision all the time, and there is no right decision, and there's no wrong decision. Yeah. Just something you learn from, you deal with the consequences, and you go with it. But you have to make the decision.
Absolutely. And sometimes you have to be okay with where the relationship is currently at as well. It's accepting that this is where it is. And from a place of acceptance, then you're able to change. And, I like to say to people, too, who are in relationship and they're feeling like it's stuck or it's a stalemate, if you will. What do you need in a relationship? What do you need from your partner? Your partner's not your mind reader. If you need to have more affection, express why you need affection. I need affection because it makes me feel loved by you. I really resonate with physical touch or with kissing or with, sex or intimacy. Any way of expressing is a way of connecting. And I think that when we reach that stagnant, stale period in a relationship, it's because we have disconnected, especially from the heart, especially from a place of love. And it's up to one or both of the individuals to say, okay, I'm going to put my foot down. I accept that this is where we're at. We've both contributed to this. We've got to take responsibility for it. I take responsibility for contributing to where this relationship is at. But now moving forward, what solutions, what can I do to make this different and to bring love back into this connection? And you do everything that you can on your end. You understand the purpose of relationships, and that's what I like to talk to clients about. We talk about the relationship. I'll give communication and intimacy building exercises, and they'll go into their relationships and they'll do that, and they'll do their work on themselves as well that's not related to the relationship. Make sure that they're still their own best friend in the process of it. And then you're going to know when a relationship is complete. I don't like to say finished. I like to say complete. No relationship is ever finished. Even when we're not physically together, energetically, spiritually, we're always bound. It's this place of neutrality that you start to feel. And when you're neutral, it's like the natural state of your being. It's your essence. It's that peace. It's saying, I love you, even though we are not maybe in alignment anymore, or there's nothing really left for us to learn from each other in physical relationship. I accept you, I see you, and I love you, and I've learned from you. I'm ready to move on, or I can stay here and just accept the person for who they are and not want to project onto them to do work on themselves or to make this relationship any different. Like, from that neutral place, eventually once you've done all the work that you need to do, then you can make that decision. So just because you're in a stale or stagnant or stuck relationship, it doesn't always mean to walk away. I'm not saying that it's safe for you to be in an abusive relationship or a really toxic, unhealthy relationship. Please don't think that. I'm not saying that whatsoever. You can use that to your own discretion, but I'm saying for those situations where you're feeling like nothing's really moving forward, you do have a little bit of work to do there before you can kind of make that decision. That's just my input.
I like what you said, too. I mean, we need to stop blaming everybody else. We need to stop. I mean, this applies to relationships in the world too. Like, we're so busy blaming people for what's wrong, especially within a relationship, that we're not taking responsibility for ourselves. We're not doing anything to change. We're just sitting there blaming and complaining. And that's one of the big problems with our world today, and big problems within all of our relationships. It's really easy to sit there and blame somebody and say, like, this person isn't giving me this, they're not doing this. But where's the accountability for yourself? Once you do that, you've taken full accountability. Then you can really evaluate, okay, what's really going on here? Is it that person? Is it me? And then you can move forward.
Yeah, and you said blame. I love that, because blame and being a victim are the two biggies for most people in any relationship, whether it be romantic or otherwise. I mean, those are usually the initial issues that people are having. Woe is me. This is happening to me. I'm not responsible for this. It's me versus them.
Mm-hmm.
There's creating that separation dynamic between people. Guys, we're all in this together. We're all, players in this, or actors in this big movie called life. Don't think that for a second you're not contributing.
Right.
There's so many things that are going on there. I really like to explore in my sessions the role of shadow work, which speaks to a lot of this stuff. It helps people to develop a more loving relationship and accepting relationship to themselves, but also with other people. And we all have, because we are dualistic, and I mean, this is a whole other kind of conversation. This could be on maybe another show, because there's a lot to talk about, and polarity and duality and the role of dark shadow and light shadow within ourselves. But I like to play that out too. Everybody, just because you are a victim or you're blaming, or maybe you're a good person, everybody's a good person at the bottom of it. We all have love no matter what. Mm-hmm. We all have love within us. We all come from source. We're all a part of that energy, that consciousness. So sitting in victim and blame is not going to get you anywhere, because you also have to understand that you are dualistic as well. You play in polarity. You have a dark shadow and a light shadow too, and you may not even know what your role is in that dynamic, how you are contributing to it. So, understanding, how you're contributing to it by being really honest with yourself and saying, hey, you know what, I need to take some responsibility here.
Yeah. And stop being on the defense all the time. Maybe what I learned in the relationship, it's he's telling me this all the time. Maybe there's some validity to it. Maybe I should step back and be whoa, instead of defending myself and jumping to defense, think, okay, how am I acting? What am I actually doing? Maybe I'm lying to myself. Maybe I am contributing to the problem. But yeah, taking responsibility, huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other thing I was just going to quickly add in was also to have, and as you guys have both briefly mentioned as well, but just the idea of trusting the other person and their experience as much as you trust your own experience. It's for the really extreme example, it's something where, okay, you've been cheated on, per se, right? And you see yourself as the victim to that. They are the victimizer. Therefore, you're the one who it's tough for. For them, it's easy. I mean, yes, they have to go through the potential guilt or whatever the case may be, or the onus of being truthful or getting caught, or however it plays out. But it's still, your mind will want to identify it as, I'm having it tough here, they're having it easy. That's not fair, I'm the victim, or stuff like that. You need to trust that no matter what role the other person in the relationship has to play, they're going to get whatever they need from it. And you can't be the one that's going to look for equality in that, or try to forcefully create equality in the situation. And it's just a matter of really focusing on your own experience of it and trusting that maybe they don't need in this part of their life right now to experience being cheated on. If they did, then you would have had that whole thing play out, and it would have played out completely differently. It's you who needed it right now. Focus on that. Don't look for equality. Don't get caught up in the mind games that are going to compare and are going to judge and take the victim point, or look at the good or the right or the wrong, all these things that we've been bringing up over the last hour. It just really simplify things and say, I can only control myself. I'm in this moment. This is what's coming up within me. Let's look at that. And that's it. Because if you don't do that, you're going to get caught up all over the place, because the mind will love to go anywhere but within, because it knows that when you go within is when it collapses. So it doesn't want to let you go within. It's going to come up with every story, make it as colorful, as sensorial as every way possible. So that's I think that's a big one too.
It's a very good point. Very good point.
Cheating is a very complicated issue. I mean, I think there's many levels to it. I think that there's a grand picture. I think that we live in an over-sexualized culture with media. It, forgive me for saying, fucks a lot of people up. And I think that, a lot of us are persuaded by this culture, and it's so false. But, I mean, like I said, there's many levels to cheating. I think that you can easily play that, the role of the victim and the victimizer. But I think that, I think you can work through cheating. I think that we look at it, we condemn it as something, and it's just horrible. How could you ever go back with that person? But I think there's a lot of healing that can come from from working through, cheating. So, yeah, it's a really complicated issue.
That's a big subject too, especially the whole subject of and topic of sex. That could be a good
yes.
topic for another show. I think we'd have a lot of people listening in on that one. That's
Absolutely.
a big topic. And
yeah, because sexuality is changing. The world's
Absolutely.
changing, and it's just changing as a whole, sexuality.
And I really believe that what we have learned about sexuality is very false.
Yes.
Incorrect, and as very much we've been held in the dark and entrapped by a false sense of belief and understandings of the role and the power and the magnitude of how amazing and the role of sex in our lives. I mean, we've really been sort of suppressed by what the true purpose of sexuality
right.
and sex is really for.
Right.
And as we are shifting and as we are going through all these changes, it's starting to pop up, more and more. We're starting to learn a little bit more about the secrets and the power of sex and what it can bring into people's lives.
Yeah, that whole Eastern philosophy surrounding sex is kind of making its way to the Western culture and moving away from that, religious based ideals around sex.
That and pornography.
Yeah.
That's a whole, and that is just, two different spectrums, two different contrasting conversations there, but absolutely. Yeah. That's a good topic. Maybe another time.
I'm in.
Cool, me too.
Well, we got about 20 minutes or so left, just under 20 minutes. And I think that a good way to kind of, not necessarily wrap it up, but a good way to make sure that we touch on this before we run out of time, and then we'll see if anything else comes in, but would be to kind of talk about some of the tools that each individual listener, whether they're listening to this live or they're going to listen to it on the archive, which is when the bulk of the people that come across this material, let's give them something to work with. I know that you are a certified yoga instructor, and I know that you also are like a meditation, stuff like that, is also a proponent in your life and stuff like that. Let's talk a little bit about those two things or any other things that are kind of in the same realm. What's kind of your perspective or your view on what those two things or what the other things can do for a person in their life? And maybe like a recommendation on a certain way to practice it or to play with it. Someone who's never done it before or someone who's been doing it for ages. Like, what has yoga, meditation, or anything else done for you and some of the other people that you worked with or worked on?
That's a great question.
Totally.
I guess I'll start off with my own personal experience. I discovered yoga 6 years ago, and it changed my life. I started off with Moksha Hot Yoga. That's what I'm certified in. Moksha in Canada, it's Moto Yoga in the United States. And I fell in love immediately. I mean, it was such a healing experience. Coming from the entertainment industry for 10 years, I had really, really unhealthy body image issues. And my self-image was just really rock bottom. And
like the other 80% of the world.
Yeah. And I had been to the gym. I was all about going to the gym and fitness. I've always been really active and athletic. But it just wasn't doing it for me anymore. And I was really craving. That was also, on the dawn of my awakening, wanting something a little bit more, I guess expansive or something that would connect me in a different way. I wanted it not to be about my ego all the time and having my physique look a certain way. And when I discovered yoga, there was just something really magical and mystical about it, that it really helped to heal not only my self-image issues, but it started to, really open up, organs and parts of my body and energy.
Muscles.
Yeah, like that I had never used before, that I was never in tune or in touch with. So, yoga came into my life first, and then I discovered meditation. The first meditation I ever did was I went to a group meditation. It was the crystal bowls, the crystal quartz bowls.
Sound healing, yeah.
Sound healing, yeah. And that just sort of activated, and that's where I think a lot of my intuitive gifts started to come back out from that experience. But after that, I was just hooked. That's all I wanted to do was go to yoga 5-6 days a week and meditate every day. And I adopted that practice regularly. I am trained or certified in mindfulness, and I did receive training also in yoga. So I have two separate trainings in that. And I know how important and how practical and useful it is in everyone's lives. I do run workshops around this, and I have developed them. And it's important for people, when you start to meditate or practice yoga, it's good to do some research beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's really difficult. First of all, people who are going into yoga, we'll start off with that. People who are not flexible often feel that they can't go to yoga because they're not flexible. It's a bit of an oxymoron. You go to yoga to become more flexible, and not just flexible in the body, but flexible in the mind.
Yes.
You know, you start to really connect on your mat to yourself, to your body, to your breath in a way that you were probably not exposed to previous to your experience in trying out yoga. You know, so if you're afraid that, you know, you're not flexible, you're not going to be good at it, I say that in quotations, that's really typical, you know, really step out of that and just go and try it. And try a form of yoga that is accessible, that is hatha-based or beginner-based on some level. You know, what I really love about Moksha is that it's accessible for everyone. You know, but you don't have to do Moksha if you're not crazy about being in the heat. There's various forms and practices and styles of yoga.
Maybe not go into the hot your first session because, man, that can be tough.
It can be.
You're slipping all over your mat. Like, it's messy.
It can be, for sure. So, you know, yoga is a great way. I think it's a wonderful tool to help people who may not be ready to dive into personal or spiritual developmental work to begin to connect to their body in a different way. And yoga, it opens you up. So people who come in originally, they're like, I want to try something different, or, you know, I want to become more flexible. By the time they're really into yoga a couple of years later, even 6 months to a year later, I've seen students' lives transform. You know, they've already ventured into spirituality, and they're wanting to know more about life and how the ego works and, you know, Eastern traditions, all of that. So it's really neat in that regard. With meditation, I really feel like it's important it's a little more challenging to develop a seated practice on your own. It's not impossible. Nothing is impossible, okay? But what I do notice for a lot of people, the typical feedback is, I've tried to sit down and close my eyes and have no thoughts, and it doesn't work. And there's a reason for it. I explain a lot of that in my my meditation workshop. You know, your brain is in a beta frequency, a beta brainwave, which is always on. You're always doing, you're always going, you're always moving, you know. So just to think that you're going to close your eyes for a couple minutes or 20 seconds and have no thoughts in your mind is really setting a very high and impossible expectation for yourself. Meditation and yoga is a practice. That's why we say yoga practice, meditation practice. It is something that you have to have a concerted, dedicated, you know, way of being and living daily. It is not something that you just step into once a week or once a month and you've got it and you've nailed it. You're never going to nail it. You're always learning and growing, just like life. That's what's so cool about you know, practicing yoga and meditating. There are days, I've been doing this for 6 years, and I've been, you know, pretty religious with it. And I would say there are days where I can sit and I can meditate for like 40 minutes, and it's like I'm gone. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm in another dimension or reality. And then there are other days where I'm like, I can't even sit for 5 seconds. The key is not to judge the experience you're having. It's just to go with it and to keep practicing. I always like to give a little tip. You know, if you can't sit cross-legged because you have tight hips, especially for those of us who are in the West, we're not connected to the earth. Typically, we're not sitting cross-legged. We're in chairs. We're very sedentary. Try sitting in an upright chair. You know, palms can be down or up, spine is straight, chin parallel to the floor, feet planted onto the floor, and just focus on inhales and exhales. Yeah. When you're breathing, here's a quick tip for all of you. When you inhale, make sure that your belly's inflating like a balloon. So your belly's pressing into your hands. So if you place a hand on your belly, it's inflating. When you exhale, it's deflating. Believe it or not, many of you are not breathing correctly. I see it all the time. And I
learned this.
Yeah, I don't think I was breathing correctly either when I first started. 25 to 30 deep breaths signals the brain to start to slow down. So if you're feeling like you're a little bit anxious, or, you know, you've got racing thoughts, or, you know, a cluttered mind, just sit in your office, you know, sit at home, give yourself a couple minutes, just focus on inhales and exhales. You can count 1 and 2, you can count the breath, you can state affirmations or mantras or whatever it is that feels right for you. And, you know, just sit there, and if a thought comes in, just let it come in. You know, don't judge it. You don't need to get engaged in it, but, you know, that takes practice. So that's kind of the really very, 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 very basic way that you can start to adopt a little bit of a breathing technique or a meditation practice. But do your research. And if you're really interested, I'm totally open to connect with callers. If you have any questions, if you have any, if anybody in, especially the GTA, Greater Toronto Area or Toronto area wants me to come in to facilitate a 2.5-hour workshop, I'm happy to do that. I do those all the time. Or we can do personal one-on-one sessions. It doesn't have to be in office. It can be over Skype, even over the phone. You don't need to be in person to facilitate or to have me assist you in this. But it does take practice, and it will change your life permanently because it gives you that opportunity to go inward.
Mm-hmm.
And we are so externally focused.
Absolutely. What I like about yoga is that you get a meditation in and you also get a workout, so it's perfect. People that are really busy lives, it forces you to really just be still.
Yeah.
But you're also busting your ass and sweating like a pig. And you're also learning about stillness and meditation and breathing, which is all really important. So yeah, I highly recommend it. And there's so many different types too. You can really personalize what you want in your practice, which is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And there's some various, or practices of yoga that are a little bit more spiritually based or more meditation focused. What I really recommend for people who are who lead very hectic lives, who may be very tight, try a restorative practice. We call that like the dessert of yoga. It's amazing. All you're doing is being supported by props and blocks and bolsters, and you're basically sleeping and you're in poses for 10 minutes. It's amazing. It's so good. But the effects of that long term are really good for the body, really good for the mind. The parasympathetic nervous system, all of that. And yin yoga is really good too, because we're excess yang energy, which is that go, 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 more of that strengthening, the toning, the sweat, the heat. So I usually recommend, if you're going to develop a yoga practice, make sure that it's well-rounded. And it's including the meditation, because meditation and yoga go hand in hand. And that you're doing a yang practice, but also a yin practice as well. And you'll feel very balanced physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually as well as energetically.
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Well, since you briefly mentioned, maybe just to have it audibly for everybody, although it will be available through our site, and also like when you go to the player, it's going to have all the information there. But maybe if you want to audibly give people the best way to contact you if they want to either book something like this or even just get more information, what are the various ways you would like them to do that that's easiest for you? Well,
you can visit my website, which is openheart-openmind.ca. So open hearts together, and then openmindtogether.ca. You can reach me through email at info@openheart-openmind.ca. I'm also on Facebook. You can, just Google my name, Vanessa Petronelli. Or you can search for Open Heart, Open Mind Health and Wellness Services on there. You can connect to the Facebook page. My phone number's on my site, all of that. I'm really easygoing and wanting to connect with people. So if you have questions, feedback, you want to book a session or consultation, call with me. Let's do this. Let's join and let's revolutionize your life so that you're leading the life that you really want to lead and that you love.
Mm-hmm.
So there's myriad of ways. I'm also on Twitter, too. I usually don't mention Twitter because it's just linked to my Facebook page. It's really hard. I'm one person, guys, to keep up with everything. So
I bet.
It's a lot of work. I love it, but it's a lot of work. So, yeah, feel free to reach out, email, Facebook, phone. I'm there for you.
And hopefully we get to do more of this in the future.
Yeah. I would absolutely love that. It would be great for listeners to email, either the guys at Collective Evolution CE or myself with some topics, some themes. If you want to see this show continue or happen again in the future, it would be awesome. I would love to be able to assist as much as I can with you guys, on any various topics or themes that are, going on in your lives. I'm here for you, and we're all here for you to support you.
Absolutely. We want to chat. That's what we're all about. Collective evolution. We're all in it together, and we're really just, the same as you. We're here to chat. We're here to talk through this and work our way through these massive changes that are taking place.
Mm-hmm.
We're all crazy.
We are.
So yeah, let's do this again, guys.
Yeah, let's connect.
Yeah, so on behalf of the Z team, thank you, Vanessa, for doing this. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was such an honor to be here and to be able to speak with you guys. I really do appreciate it in every way. I love you guys dearly, and I love the work that you're doing. It's changing the planet. You have no idea the impact. Well, I'm sure you do, but it's true. You guys are awesome, and I'm so grateful that I was able to be live here tonight. So
absolutely. The feeling's mutual. Ditto that.
Thank you.
Yes, we love you lots.
I'm blushing.
Yeah, so just for listeners out there, CE Radio, we don't intentionally make it this sporadic in terms of scheduling. We are making a conscious effort to try and set ourselves up. We're in the process of potentially even moving offices. That if we did do that, we would have a station set up where we would finally have the audio set up to get the types of shows we've had the opportunity to do as of late that right now we can't do just because we want to have them properly set up. We don't want to have any of the technical issues we've had in the past. So we are making a conscious effort to make things like this more regular. We appreciate you guys listening in. We appreciate you guys being a part of this. We hope that you enjoyed tonight's show, and we'll see you again on CE Radio in the very near future, hopefully.
Yay!
Yay, good night, guys.
Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye.